Hello everyone and welcome to Nile TESOL LT SIG event. So to start with, I would like to welcome Dr. Shireen, the SIG's chair, who is present here at the event. Hello, welcome Dr. Shireen. And I would like to welcome also Dr. Gheda, who might join us later, the Nile TESOL president. Dr. Shireen is our SIG's chair. So the SIGs, the Nile TESOL special interest groups. And the special interest groups are a very important tool and a very important part of Nile TESOL that is empowering all teachers in all Egypt and even going beyond the borders of Egypt. We provide means for everyone to participate and share ideas and learn from and with each other. We have different activities that are planned by the SIGs members for the SIGs members. So to start with, I would like to introduce you to the different SIGs. So we have in Nile TESOL 7 SIGs so far, and we're looking forward to some new coming soon. The LT SIG, the Learning Technology Special Interest Group, is moderated by Walid and myself, Ayat Al-Tawil, and we are working on learning technology applications and creating different learning technology buzz among ELT professionals, even Egyptian and again, from all around the world, to create a community of practice around the areas of learning technologies. We also have the Teaching English to Young Learners, moderated by Maya Isa, and the while that Teaching English to Young Learners, TEYL SIG, is where all members of Nile TESOL can share interests of teaching English to young learners. And it's an open channel for everyone to communicate among each other on developing the field of teaching English to young learners. Our third SIG is English for Specific Purposes, ESP SIG, and it's moderated by Dr. Marwa Garawani. And it serves the needs of Egyptian teachers and curriculum developers, researchers who are interested in developing and delivering English courses for specific purposes. And then we have also the English for Inclusive Education, EIE SIG, moderated by Maha Hosni. And it serves the needs of Egyptian teachers and curriculum developers and researchers also are interested in designing and delivering English courses or programs to individuals with special needs. Then we have the Teacher Education Special Interest Group, TE SIG, moderated by Azza Abdullah and Mahmoud Salim. And it aims at exchanging experience among teachers and teacher educators to create opportunities for them to learn and interact and collaborate, share ideas about how they can develop themselves as teachers. Then we have the Testing and Assessment SIG, the TE SIG, and this is moderated by Mustafa Yusuf and Muna Mirsal. And it's open for all language professionals, teachers who are interested in issues that are pertaining to language testing and assessment. Then we have the Professional Writing Special Interest Group, the PW SIG, which is moderated by Ahmed Samir and Ahmed Shalabi. And I think Ahmed is here among the audience. Hello, Ahmed. And the PW SIG promotes recognition of professional writing among the ELT English language teachers and professionals as well. So coming to our event today. Today, the event theme is involving learners online, and we call it part 2 because we are also running another event in July with the same theme, but different topics, of course. So today we have 2 topics, 2 sessions. The first one, Web Tools and Mobile Apps for Teachers and Learners by Hisham Mohammed, and the second one on Innovative Techniques for Engaging Online Learners by Isra Salmin. And each session is going to be around 20 to 30 minutes. And then we're going to have a panel discussion after the 2 sessions, about 20 minutes, for everyone to share ideas and to discuss some of the issues that would come up in the session. Okay. So let me stop my presentation here and introduce our first speaker. Okay. Good. So our first session is entitled Web Tools and Mobile Apps for Teachers and Learners, and it's going to be delivered by Mr. Hisham Mohammed, who has been one of our old learning technology steering committee members and have been adding a lot to the SIG and to lots of audience who have been attending our events. Mr. Hishami is an English language instructor, teacher, trainer, and curriculum developer working for the School of Continuing Education in the American University in Cairo and Amid East. He's also an IELTS, TOEFL trainer, educational consultant, and an online English language instructor. It's a pleasure having you among us here, Mr. Hisham. Thank you so much for coming, and the floor is yours.
Has always been my pleasure to be with you and to learn from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
So let's start. How are you, everybody? Now I'm given like 30 minutes, let's say, inshallah. Okay, that's the topic of our session. Let's talk about, as you see, we are going to talk about web tools and some mobile apps for teachers and learners. And here is the agenda of our presentation. We'll talk about level tests and the CEFR, and we'll talk about Oxford dictionaries and some resources that you'll find there on the website, Cambridge activities for learners, and preparing vocabulary in glossaries and exercises. We are going to talk about a website, which is Flippity, and which will help us to turn Google spreadsheets into a set of online flashcards and other cool stuff that I hope you will enjoy, inshallah. And we'll talk about some links. I hope we'll have enough time for that, honestly, for the British Council links and the mobile apps, plus some useful resources. And the digital book, we'll talk about this at the end. Before we start, I would like to share with you, you will find, okay, I'm sorry. I'm not sure if you see it on the screen or not. Okay, you see a link now. Okay. In this link, I would like you to write any question that you would like to ask, but inshallah, we're going to answer at the end of the presentation or during the discussion at the end. I mean, the discussion at the end of the whole day. I mean, okay. Let's start with the first point, which is the idea of the CEFR. And to talk about this, I would like you to, this is a link where I created a poll. And let's go together to this poll. And I would like to share it in the chat. Walid, can you help me? Okay. I'm going to share it in the chat now.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, we are in the chat, by the way. Yes.
Okay.
By the way,
give me 1 minute because I would like to share that. Anyway, let's go at first to that. I'm sorry. Okay. Excuse me. Share the entire screen. This will make it easier. Okay. Okay. I hope now you can see the whole screen. So we'll go to the first. I'm sorry. Is my screen clear now? Now you can see. We go to. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
We go to the first.
It's displaying now, Mr. Hisham. It's displaying now.
That's okay. Now we come to the first website, okay, which is Pulse.Go. Okay, it's a very nice website where you can have a poll with a quick poll with your learners asking about anything. Let's say this is how it looks. We are going to start by this one. Getting started, we'll give your poll a name. For example, I'm going to call it CEFR, for example. We'll get started. We are going to add our own questions here, okay? So for example, say that I would like to know something. If you all know about CEFR, so I will ask the question like that. Do you know, for example, I'm creating the poll from scratch, as you see. Do you know what CEFR means? Okay, and then in the options, you are going to write, for example, yes and no. If you would like to add other options, it's up to you. If you'd like to change the interface, it's up to you. Then you can add more questions if you want. And then after that, done with adding. Then the next step that comes after that is that you are going to copy the link. And I'm going to share the link now in the chat. Where can I find the chat?
Yeah. Yes, it's on the top right side, by the way.
Here it is. I'm sorry.
Yeah, next to
I'm sorry. Forgive me. Now, I would like everybody, please, to go and try this link that you find in the chat now. And then in a minute, now I'm going to check. And as you see, giving me the option after you give your answers by yes or no to view the results. And I have actually created, as you see here, one said yes, another said no. Would you please start and share or vote for that if you know something about the CEFR or not? Here we do two things. Number one, I want to make sure who knows about the CEFR. Number two, I would like to show you like one of the tools that we can use with our learners. Write any questions that you want if you would like to vote for something. Sometimes I use it to change the time, for example, of one of the sessions or whatever. Okay. So as you see here, 11 of the attendees say that they don't know about the CEFR, and 9 say yes. Let's refresh once more. You get the idea? In a very simple way. Okay? Fine. Now, let's go back to our presentation. Okay? After we check the fault that some of us don't or need to know more about the idea of the CEFR. Simply, what is the CEFR? Let's say in the past, where we used to know the levels of the learners and their proficiency levels by saying that their levels are like basic, elementary, pre-intermediate, intermediate, upper intermediate, advanced, and so on. The Cambridge University, okay, with ESOL examination, set another way of talking about the levels of the learners, as you see here, by deciding that the levels of the learners are like, we start here by something below. A1 starts by A1, but there is something below. If somebody is like a beginner or somebody with a basic level whose knowledge about the language is very limited, and it goes up like, as you see here, so A1 for basic, A2 for elementary, and then B1, let's say this is the intermediate, and B2, the upper intermediate, C1, the advanced, and so on. The idea here is that we need to know, at first, this would be like the first step for us to know something about the levels of our learners. Okay, to show this, you'll find videos about that. You'll find this online, and we need to tell our learners about that. Why is this important? This will lead us to something about having some tests that will tell us about the level of our learners as a first step. As you see here in the in this slide, there are different websites that I'm going to show you in a minute, like Cambridge Online Test Your English and British Council Learn English, and another one which is examenglish.com, and we'll talk about each one in a minute. Let's start by Cambridge.
Excuse me, there is no screen.
I'm sorry?
No screen shared.
I'm sorry?
There is no screen shared.
No screen shared? Okay, just give me a minute. Let's share that once more. I'm sharing the entire screen now. So tell me. Is it fine now? Now, this is the first one about the poll that we talked about. Is it clear? Would you tell me, please?
Yes, it started to appear, yes.
Now it's fine? And this is the presentation itself?
Yes, the presentation started to appear on the screen.
That's fine? Okay, now.
So if there is any technical issue, just report it in the chat box. And I guess everything is fine. Yeah. Okay.
Walid, is it fine, Walid?
Yeah, it is fine. It's fine.
Yes. That's fine. Let's move to the second to the website that we just talked about, which is Cambridge placement test or level test. As you see, there are different tests, and what you find here is that simply you can go to General English and then start the test. You will be given like 25 questions, and after you answer, the website will give you your score according to the CEFR, as we said, which is the way that will tell us about the level of the language, which ranges from A1, A2 till C1 and C2, okay? So this will be the first step. You will find that the tests here are like something that will give us an idea about the knowledge of vocabulary and grammar, mainly for the learners. Let's move to another website, which is the British Council website, Learn English. And I would say that this is, it has actually better options, okay, especially when you choose the answers, because if you choose the answer after that, it gives you, with the same idea, you start your test. It's an online level test. Again, you choose the answer. And what is nice about it is that it tells you if you are not sure, if you are fairly sure, or if you are certain about it. And this would make it more professional and more accurate, okay? Again, you do it, so it's a long run, of course, we'll not do it now. You can do it, and at the end, it will give you your score more accurately than, honestly, more accurately than Cambridge, and again, according to the CEFR. We come to a third website. All the links, inshallah, are in the presentation and will be shared as a whole at the end of, or after we finish our event today, inshallah. A third link here for another website, which is English Exam, which gives you something similar. But what is nice here is that it gives you like something about, let's say, something to test your grammar, vocabulary, with the same idea. Again, it's all online, interactive. You just pick the answer and then choose next. And then another one, as you see here, which is listening test. And something else that comes after that. This is the listening, as you see. Simply, you read the questions, as we all know, play the audio.
So, it's red, and it's got...
And then after you listen, again, you answer the 15 questions, which will give you, again, your score about the test. And then we move to something which is more accurate on the same website, which is some level tests related to the CEFR. Of course, now you have some students who like to start a course, whatever, or their, let's say something about their level. Of course, I wouldn't give somebody who starts learning a level that is like B2 or C1 or B1, okay? So you can start here, as see it is categorized by A1 and then A2, and then you will find the practice tests related to each level. So this is the first point about talking about the placement test, okay? I hope this part is clear. As you see here, these are the links to the placement test that we talked about a moment ago. But let me tell you something honestly. The point is that you will not be, or you cannot guarantee it 100% that you will know the level of the learner by just checking your vocabulary and their grammar. Okay? So it will be, of course, it is essential. After you do a test like that, you have to have like a sort of test to test their speaking and their writing. And you'll find online a lot of tests related to the same idea, okay? I got you like some of them here that would, and of course, this will be shared. As you see here, this is that's a book by Cambridge, which will ask you, which has a PDF with some questions. And after you do this test to your learners, you can decide after that what their levels are. Okay, so we have now, the 4 skills that are the speaking and the writing and the reading and the listening and so on. The first type of exams or tests will not make it sure if what the level is. So we need to have like a sort of oral or speaking and writing 1, 2 to know about their level. That's for the idea of level test and their importance related to the CEFR. Okay, again, here I have shared some materials related to that. I'm sorry, there is another point. There is one of the best placement tests that I have ever used actually was a placement test prepared by World English, which is like a full test that includes the vocabulary and the grammar and listening with the materials, with the answer key, with the answer sheets, with everything. I promise you that I will share the link with you after we finish, inshallah. Again, this is something about the speaking level test. Okay, so this is the first point that I would like to talk about, which is the idea of level test related to the CEFR. Okay, let me move to the next point. The other point, as you see here, is using Oxford dictionaries and the resources related that you can find on this great website. And again, it is something related to the CEFR. Okay, let me remind you once more that I would like you, please, as I told you, you will find a link. I'm not sure if this is clear or not. The question and the answer. The link that includes, again, the link that you find on the screen is a link. If you have any questions or any comments about what I'm saying, that we'll be discussing later. Okay. Now,
so Mr. Hisham, attendants can simply go through the link, in just type it or paste it in a website, and then they will be able to interact with you.
Okay, so I'm going to, here it is. It is shared now. It is shared now in the chat.
So you can just go to the chat box, click the link, and if you have any question, just type your question or your comment.
Okay.
Is that okay, Mr. Hisham?
That's fine. Okay, I've just sent it. I've just shared it on the in the chat box. Okay.
Okay.
That's fine. Now we come to the next part, which is Oxford dictionaries and resources. Let's open the dictionary itself, and this is one of the best web tools that I would recommend for everybody, for all teachers, to share with their learners. We need them to stop using Google Translate, because actually, I'm not saying something against Google Translate, but if they would like to improve their language, it would be better, of course, to refer to an English dictionary like Oxford. I would recommend Oxford. There are other websites or other online dictionaries like Macmillan and like Longman. I would prefer Oxford, and we are going to talk about some of the tools that we will find and some of the options that we have on Oxford. Simply, this is Oxford Dictionary. We can just type any word that we want. A word like advanced, for example. You will find something about it that the website provides us with the British pronunciation and
Advanced.
American pronunciation. Something great about the website, of course, plus the pronunciation and the definition that comes after that, plus some examples. Even if you want extra examples, you will find this on the website. It tells you something about the level of the word according to the CEFR that we talked about before. So the level of this word is, as you see, B2. If you write a word like, for example, bed, which is supposed to be known by students with a lower proficiency level, you'll find that it is like A1 and so on, okay? And here we'll find a key. And there is something very important about this idea. This will lead us to going to the part about the word list. Okay, let's open that part, and I would recommend it, wallahi, for everybody to share this with the learners because it is really useful. We'll find here that Oxford Dictionary, let's say Oxford University, let's say that they decided that there are very important words in the English language, or the most commonly used words in English language, and they called these lists like Oxford 3000 and Oxford 5000. Okay, it is said that, or this is what they said, that if you learn the 3000 words, okay, you will be able to understand about 85% of anything that you read or that you hear. Okay, let's have a look at the list of 3000 and 5000 and see the difference. So here we go to the list. Okay, you will find that all the words Oxford 3000, all of them, and they are here and they are uncategorized. And we have a great option here, which is that you can start filtering them, as if you tell Oxford, please, I need Oxford 3000 words. I don't want you to select all of them. So deselect that, and I need the vocabulary words that are related to A1 only. For example, now the vocabulary are filtered and it gives you the A1 vocabulary only. Let's move to another point. I need, for example, A1 and A2, or deselect that one and choose the vocabulary of B1 only. So again, they are filtered once more, okay? How can we advise our learners to do that? The website, as you see here, say that I don't know the meaning of the word accommodation, for example. Now it gives you the British pronunciation.
Accommodation. Accommodation.
And you can just click the word to have the same idea. It will take you to the dictionary, telling you that it is B1 with the definition and the examples and something related to it, okay? Again, how are we going? So this is one way. Number one, we can advise our learners to learn the vocabulary words, to learn them by knowing the definition. Even if they look up the word, they would use the Oxford Dictionary, and then refer to the definition and the meaning and so on. What is nice here is that you will find in the part of the downloads that there is a link for Oxford 3000 and Oxford 3000 by CEFR level. I love this part because, as you see here, you'll find that the words are categorized. These are all the vocabulary words. It's the PDF that you can download. A1 and then A2 till you reach B1. Because actually, okay, so the last category is for B1 and part of B2, I mean. For a higher level, and as you see, it's downloadable, okay, the students can just highlight, print out, whatever. We come to the other list, which is 5,000, which includes the list of words of B2, okay, and C1 at the same time, okay? If you, again, I'm sorry, Oxford 5,000, but by CEFR level that we talked about at the beginning of the session. So as you see here, this is the vocabulary of B2, all of them, and then C1, okay? What is nice also about the list, okay, if you go back to the home, now we know something about 5,000 and 3,000 and 5,000. It also gives you an idea, or I'm sorry, another list about phrasal academic lexicon. I mean, like some academic expressions or words, or let's say vocabulary words that are in English of a higher level, of course. And again, you can filter and choose whatever you want. These are like 12 lists or sub-lists, let's say. Of course, you can explore that by yourself. And the last link that we'd like to talk about is the phrase list, which will provide you with a lot of phrases that we use in our daily life. Again, they are all in the form of PDFs that you can download, okay? That's for that part, which is Oxford and the resources found on Oxford. The last thing that I would like to talk about for Oxford dictionary is the online collocation dictionary. It's another source that I would say that it is really essential for all learners of the language. Usually you find that the students don't know what words go with what, okay? And sometimes because we think about it in Arabic, we use the wrong word. This is what we call collocation. For example, you'll find this common mistake with a lot of Egyptian learners, mainly Egyptian learners, who would say, for example, I'm sorry for the wrong mistake, with the word homework, they would say make, because in Arabic we say بيعمل الhomework. Okay, so what is nice here is that if they don't know the meaning of a word, just type the word like the word homework, for example, okay, and look it up in the online collocation dictionary. So the collocation dictionary will get you all the words that are related to this word homework. If it is an adjective, you say, for example, English and science, okay, a piece of homework, quantitative. The words, or let's say the vocabulary, the verbs, I'm sorry, that go with homework. We say do homework, finish, hand in, and so on, okay. This is very useful as a sort for them to check their knowledge about a word, okay. This is something about Oxford Collocation Dictionary, okay. This is something that we can, I mean, these links we can share for our learners, and I hope, inshallah, that will help them a lot. Something for us learners, that sometimes, or usually, we need some activities to use with our learners. This is actually one of the best websites that I have seen by Cambridge again. And what is great about it is that you will have, let's uncheck all that, okay, clear all, okay, and close filters. You will find, as you see here, about 176 activities, okay, related to different levels. As you see here, this is A1 and A2 and B1 and B2 and C1 and C2 and so on. Say that you would like to make the activity more specific. For example, I would like you to prepare an exercise or an activity for me that includes grammar, that includes, let's say, vocabulary, and that includes, let's say, listening. And I would like it to be for independent level, okay? Again, the idea of basic, independent, and proficient here goes according, once more, to the CEFR that we talked about. That's why I started the session by CEFR. Okay, so the basic here will be for A1 and A2, for example, and the independent will go from B1 and so on. The proficient, of course, proficient will be for the C1 and so on. So I would like something for that has the skill of grammar, listening, and vocabulary, and I need it independent level, and I would like it to be for 5 to 10 minutes or whatever. Let it be 10 minutes plus. Then you'll find that it is filtered here, and you start. You see, it gets you like 12 activities. You start this one, for example, and you'll find a lot of activities related to level B1 and B2 because we have chosen independent, okay, 10 minutes plus. And the skills, this one is for listening only. And then you start doing it. And of course, no time to explore it. More than that, you can explore it by yourself. Okay? As you see here, just listen and then choose the answer and check the answer and so on. Even it gives you the script, which will be great. And the kids, or let's say the students, love that. Okay, plus they can choose the answer and then check the answer. Oh my God, correct without reading. I love that. Maybe because I'm Egyptian. Okay, let's move to, that's for that one. And of course, you can explore it.
Beginner's luck.
Yeah. No, we are Egyptians.
The Egyptian luck. So we should correct it that way. Not beginner's luck, Egyptian luck.
We
have lots of interesting.
Yeah,
we have lots of interesting resources, by the way, and by the way, we are going to share all these resources thanks to Mr. Hisham to your email, and also to we are going to post them on our Facebook page, so you don't have to worry much about this.
Yes,
inshallah.
And they have a recording. The session is recorded.
Yes, and of course the recorded is recorded. And for those who didn't have some time to register, there is already a live streaming session. So still people can watch us. Maybe they can't interact much, but still they can live watching us, by the way.
That's
yes.
That's
so
right.
If you have any question, okay.
Okay, now we come to the next part, which is preparing vocabulary and glossaries and exercises. A very useful source for that is actually wordsmith.net. There are many ways of creating vocabulary glossaries and vocabulary exercises, but I like this one, and if there are future chances, inshallah, we can talk about others. Okay?
Okay. May I interrupt you, Mr. Hisham? Yeah. Can we just wrap it up now? So we can give like 2 minutes for questions. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Share all the resources, by the way.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, we don't have much time, by the way.
Really? Oh my God.
Yeah.
I was planning to talk about more than that. Okay. Is it 20? There's not 30 minutes now, Ali.
Yeah, I believe 40 minutes, by the way, after 9.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, I mean, it's 9:40 now.
Okay. So the point is that I was planning actually to talk about 2 more resources, if you don't mind, very quickly. Just give me like 10 more minutes, 5 to 10 more minutes, if you don't mind.
Yeah, can we make them 5, Mr. Hisham, if you don't mind?
I was about to say that.
I will do my best. Okay.
Thank
The
you so
website
much.
here, you're welcome. The Wordsmith website here, as you see here, it has a lot of options that I would recommend it for you to use. I would like you to go to that part, Vocabulary Center. Okay. Here, as you see, this part, I would just comment on two options, and then you can explore the website. The first one is a glossary maker that you can just create a glossary using some words. If you subscribe, I guess, for the website, it will give you the chance just for like, I guess, 12 words. There is no problem about that. Let's start, for example, by the glossary maker. I have just copied like some words. I don't know what. Let's choose these words only. Okay. Okay. What you're going to do here is that you can create it by, as you see here, by the level. Either you want to create a glossary for beginners or for intermediate or for advanced learners. It's up to you. Let's choose intermediate, for example. And here you write the list of words that you would like to write to create the glossary for. Call it anything. Words, for example, call it anything. Use any type of dictionaries. Let's say concise dictionary, for example, or you can custom your glossary. Say that I would like it to include, for example, the definition and the examples only. And then, for example, of course, you can choose anything that you want. You press next. As you see here, you find that the website starts to create the glossary for you. You can pick and choose whatever you want here. Okay, it's up to you. Okay, I would choose like one or two, anything. Okay, and then after that, you are, of course, and if you can edit if you want. And then next, you will find after that a glossary has been created for you. Okay, with the word, with part of the speech and whatever. Another way that you can use is that instead of using the glossary maker, you can use the matching quiz. Matching, yes. Multiple choice, for example. So with the same list of vocabulary that we have created, we will follow the same steps. And here I would say that I would like to use either definitions or examples with the same steps. And again, next you'll find that the website creates for you the examples to use. Okay? And then next you'll find that an exercise has been created for you that you can do it, as you see here, an exercise with multiple choice and so on, and you can find it ready like that. After that, you can do it online, okay, or you can print it out. It's up to you. The website includes some other links that will be useful for kids with a lot of resources. This is my favorite, actually, and I hope that I'll have enough time, forgive me for that, to talk about Flippity. It's a great website that includes a lot of tools that will change turn every Google spreadsheet into an online, for example, like you can use it like flashcards, like something for random picking, for a lot of tools, actually. Let's choose, for example, let's see, for example, the first one. This is the demo of that will show you how it works. As you see, this like to create flashcards like that. And you can turn like that. This is the demo. It tells you how to do it or how it works. And then it gives you instructions after that on how to create this sheet. It is so simple. You open this template, for example, and choose make a copy. Okay. Here, what my advice to you is never to change these two lines, please. And you can change this, for example. I'm going to delete all that, okay?
You mean the header, Mr. Hisham?
Ah, yes, the headers, exactly. And
not
here
to change the header, but the content is okay.
Yes, exactly. You start changing here, write whatever you want. Say, for example, that I'm going to write here, for example, the vocabulary word, and here the definition, for example. Step 2, okay, let's delete all that. This is, of course, an example on how you can do it. Write whatever you want, copy, paste. Step 2 comes after that, which is really important, which is that you go to the file and then publish to the web. And then just choose publish, and that's all. That's the end of it. Okay, after it is published, okay, you close that one. Go down here, it will tell you get the link here, and this will be the link of Flippity. Okay, once you put the cursor on it, you can just copy the link, and let me show you how it will work. Here it is, and now here you go. I'm sorry. It's supposed to give you the list that I've just mentioned. I don't know what happened. Here it is. I'm sorry. Okay, you got that? These are the letters that so now I created, as you see, the flashcards for the learners. You can use it a lot in different ways. This is like random picker. This is something that where you can put like pictures for the students and so on. Let me wrap up. This is how you can use it, and I promise you we can maybe in the future we can
question time, Mr. Ikwan?
Yeah, but this
can
is
we just go to the question?
Yes, please. Okay.
Yeah, if anyone has a question or a comment,
okay,
just in short.
That's fine.
We are going to have a panel discussion, by the way, at the end. So all our presenters and also our LT-SIG members will be around for any question or inquiry.
That's okay. That's fine. Okay.
So if you have any question, you can just go.
That's fine.
And type it in the link provided above.
That's good. Maybe I prepared too much for the session. This is my link, and thank you so much for attending the session. Thank you so much.
Mr. Hisham, what did you? Yeah, you keep sharing the screen. So if anyone has a question,
okay, please.
Yeah. So if anyone has a question, we're going to keep it for 20 seconds, maybe.
Okay, I thought you would have the question at the end.
Yes, we do. We do have the questions, Mr. Hisham, at the end. So we do have the link. There are some questions. I posted a copy myself there. You can have a look at it. But thank you so much for an inspiring presentation as usual. And I wish we had given you some more time for Flippity. It's one of my favorite tools, and I advise everyone to try it. It's really worth it, and it makes wonder. So I think it's time to, welcome.
Okay, thank you.
I think it's time to introduce our second presenter. Ms. Isra, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, so
you can share your screen now.
Okay, and a second, and I will introduce Ms. Isra. Okay.
That's fine.
So our second session is about innovative techniques for engaging online learners by Ms. Isra Selmin. And she is an MA researcher at the Faculty of Arts, Translation Studies Department, and she's working as an English instructor in the Arab Academy of Science and Maritime Transport. So thank you so much for joining our event. We look forward to it, and the floor is yours, Ms. Isra. We can't hear you, Ms. Isra. We can't hear you. Hello?
Well, I guess she has a problem in her mic.
Yeah, because we can't.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
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 Okay.
Yes. Yes. I think I had a problem with the mic. Yes. Yes. Okay. So I'm so happy to be one of the participants today in this online event, and I would like to thank Mr. Hisham for his informative presentation. He actually presented some useful tools that we can use for engaging learners, either online learners or in traditional classrooms. Today, I'm going also to talk about online learners and how we can involve and engage them. Before I start my presentation, the outline is, first of all, I'm going to talk about online learners and what we need to consider about online learners, learners' motivation, engagement, how we can engagement and what we mean by engagement, assessment and feedback, and the key components of success in an online learning environment. And I will end my presentation with some interactive activities that we can use in order to engage our learners more. First of all, if we are talking about online learners, and of course they are different from our learners in traditional classrooms, because they have maybe there are certain things that we need to consider when we deal with our online learners. For example, online learners can have various academic levels, and they come from various backgrounds and different countries, and they have different life experiences. And of course, one of the most important things about online learning is the technological ability. So it's recommended that before we start any online course, that you need to get your students through the platform they are going to use, or the application that you are going to use, in order to make them more engaged and in order not to feel at a loss. Because if they do not know how to use this application, they will get lost, and of course they will be turned off from online learning in general. Maybe students are used to work in very different educational environment, and actually we had this problem when we switched from traditional classes to online classes when the pandemic started, and many students, they rejected the idea, maybe because they are not technologically aware of the applications and the platforms that we can use, and the techniques that we can use in handling an online class. If we are talking about learners' motivations, the motivation can be either intrinsic motivation or extrinsic motivation. So if we have, definitely the students have their own goals and targets. And one of the things that Mr. Hisham has talked about is the placement test and the SAFR levels, and how we can determine their levels throughout these placement tests. And one of the things that we need to bear in mind is, of course, the speaking assessment, the writing, in order to get the right level. The most important thing is to know their goals and their target. And of course, in some online learning environment, we can tailor our course to fit the students' needs and targets. Because many of the online classes can be one-to-one. So you are free to tailor your course in order to meet the online learner goals. And basically, when you are targeting their goals, they will be motivated. They will be automatically motivated. And of course, the teacher himself must motivate the student through the activities and the things that he can use in order to make them more encouraged to continue in this online learning and to compensate for the lack of face-to-face interaction. So learners prefer more engaging learning environment, which learners and teachers would have a direct interaction with other learners and immediate feedback and relationship. So one of the things that motivate students in online environment is the online participation and social presence and the collaboration that would imitate the traditional engaging learning environment. So participation or online participation is the strongest factor to contribute to the effectiveness of online environment. So what do we mean by engagement? Engagement is straightforward and easily understood. The more students study a subject, the more they know about it. And the more students practice it and get feedback from their teacher on the writing or collaborative problem solving, the deeper they come into understanding what they are learning. So one of the most important things that we need to consider, especially in online environment, is the hands-on experience, involving the students and making them participate in different activities, including discussions, collaborating on solving problems, or contributing or getting engaged in projects that they can be together, working on them together. I don't know whether there are any questions or not. Okay, Mr. I cannot see either whether there are
no questions so far, Ms. Isra. So we're fine. You can go on. If there are any questions, we'll let you know.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
She can receive also the questions through the link provided above.
Yes. I'm going to look at it. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So at the end, you can discuss it. Yes.
Yes. So providing learning opportunities. So there is actually a misconception about online learning that they are sat on their beds or on their chairs and they never get involved or in active learning. So active learning, as we said, is a hands-on experience or hands-on learning, and we can assign our learner students even to interview people working in the field or to bring their learning out into their community where they live. And we can, as I said before, make group projects, gathering, analyzing things in order to be more engaged in active learning. One of the most important things that will guarantee students' involvement is assessment. So assessment is a very powerful tool to support students' growth. And assessment here means that we need to offer feedback on students' written work or anything that they do. So formative assessment is highly important, and of course it will tell them where they are exactly in order to move on in their move on in their course or not. So we can do this through short quizzes, and we can also have like a discussion board where the students reflect on their learning apart from the teacher. The teacher has no control over this, and they can discuss in order to be more and more engaged. Grading and feedback, that is very important, and in online learning environment, if you are working for a company or even any company, they provide you with their materials and they will help you a lot in order to guarantee that you are targeting the students' level. And of course, you can spend more time in even preparing extra material or more time on assessing students' work. It's very difficult, so it's very important to bear in mind grading and feedback. So we can just say that the feedback or the grading can be in an acronym called REPLY, and it's a practical way to actually organize the components of quality online feedback on assignment. So your feedback must be responsive, it provides timely response to the students, effective over specific comments aligned with the assignment objectives. It can be positive, using positive connotations and positive language, and learning, which means including suggestions for how the assignment can be improved. And you can make it personal and not just a standard response. You can target their own problems and their own mistakes and make it personal. The key components of success that basically of online learning in general, you need to engage the students. You need to make them contact with you freely, of course, through a specific time that you can identify or allocate for them. Provide them materials that are well organized and visually pleasing, and of course the visual element in online learning is highly important. You need to use videos, visual materials when you are explaining grammar, vocab. So even discussions, you can also use this visual element while making discussion. You can also provide them with like a clear timetable for their assignments and all the things that they need to do throughout the course. And of course, there must be clear learning outcomes and objectives. And through this, the students will know how they will get benefit from this course. So it's related or it's closer to what they need, they will be, as we said before, automatically engaged, and they will have this kind of intrinsic motivation. Of course, the presentation slides are important also. The assignments, and you can develop assignments that reinforce learning outcomes, requiring students using higher level of thinking to analyze and apply what they are learning. So you can provide them with activities that they can use in order to be they will spend time in order to analyze and think. For example, you can give them a certain subject, and they need to search and to analyze and to develop their own opinions about it. So in that case, they will spend more time. And of course, it depends on the level, and you can use different websites, as Mr. Hisham said before, that can tell you which activities can fit which level. So in order not to be at a loss. using, of course, as we said, websites and photos, and this will be also helpful, especially in the environment, online environment. The frequent feedback is very important, and basically when you are an online tutor, you need to exceed your student expectations. You need to wow the students, as we said before, even by replying quickly to their messages, giving them frequent feedback, or even using materials that are appealing to them. And you need to consider, in that case, as we said, their goals and their age group, for example. As we said, providing, of course, with discussion boards, that's important. And clear assignment directions, especially, for example, if you are doing a writing task, or a writing task, for example, you need to provide them with like a good model, because they will not be able to reach you every now and then. So you may have a model. For example, if it's a debate or something that you need to form an opinion about, so you can provide them with models. You need to be relevant, and your material must be realistic and up to date. This element is very important to guarantee their engagement. It must be up to date, talking about modern subjects that are related to their modern norms. Okay, there is something called here, of course, if you are working, or if you are working for an online company, they're called content chunking. And chunking here is a method of presenting information in small pieces of chunks to make reading and understanding faster and easier. So chunking here is especially useful for material presented on the web, because readers tend to scan rather than read the entire page. So chunking here means that providing parts, and if you have, for example, a long reading text, you can select the part that is very important, and it will be helpful, or it can be discussed in other ways, and provide it to your online learner. But we don't have in online learning environment enough time to keep basically the lecture will be 1 hour, 1 hour and a half, so you do not have the same time you have in traditional classes. Okay, self-assessment, and yes, the last thing here I want to talk about is the possible activities that we can use in order to determine the students' level, or to make learning more fun. For example, one of the icebreakers that you can use is Know Your Teacher. And here in this activity, you can provide them with a number of nouns, a number of verbs, and ask them to form questions to ask you as a teacher. So in that case, they will feel more comfortable dealing with you. And at the same time, it's a kind of speaking activity from which you can determine their speaking level, and you can also make it like an icebreaker. So the next one also is the question generator. You can also determine whether they can form questions in different tenses or not. Where are they exactly? Because as we said, the placement tests are not that accurate in determining the students' level. The 2-minute talk, and this is a very nice activity that you can use. You can, for example, make them watch a video. And of course, the flipped class technique here is highly useful in online learning, because you do not have enough time to make them, for example, watch a 5-minute video. You can make them watch it before the session, and then they can prepare like a summary, or like a 2-minute talk about this video or presentation, presenting their point of view. And this is also a good speaking activity. TED Talks, and I think that you are familiar with them. Give me the short version. For example, you can assign them an article that they can read and then write a short version of it, or even a video, and they can give you the short version of the video as well. It's a deal, and here you can make like disputes or debates, or a kind of disagreement between people. Imagine a situation and ask them to work together and resolve this disagreement. Another activity that we can use, every picture tells a story. You can, for example, show them different pictures and ask them to give you a story behind this picture, or even write a story. So here we're talking about activities that we can use either in writing or speaking, assessing writing or speaking. If only things had been different, and here we're talking about the third conditional and imagination, and of course it's used in with higher level students. Dear, I need your help here. This is an activity you can use, giving them problems and then asking them to give you solutions to this problem or pieces of advice. So all in all, the activities or in online learning, as I said, you can use the flipped class technique in order to save time. You can make them work at home and work on at their own pace, and then in the class you can give them longer time for extended discussion or for reflecting on their work. And in that case, the class will be more engaging and more interactive. Definitely in some applications there are, like Zoom for example, there are the breakout rooms. If you have a group of students and you need them to work in groups like the traditional classroom, they can use the breakout rooms and you can monitor their work during the session. And that's the end of my presentation. Okay, thank you. I just
Thank you so much.
thank you.
Okay.
I think we have a question for Mr. Hisham and a question for Ms. Isra. Walid, shall we go for them or?
Yeah, sure. Yes. Please. So we can start with Hisham, I guess.
Yes, please.
Isra, you decide. Yeah.
I was just going to start with Isra because she was just like the last presentation. We've been listening to her. So Isra, how can assessment contribute to students' engagement online? Because you talked about assessment. So how do you think assessment can be a tool to engage students in online?
Yes, actually, basically, when you are providing them feedback, they become more engaged. For example, they know the progress they are making. If they feel that they are making progress, they will be more and more engaged. They know that their work is being graded, or they get either positive or negative feedback. But definitely, you need to look at the positive side to make them more engaged, the more appeal to the to learning the language more. So giving feedback is one of the most important.
The key through assessment, you mean, is feedback, right?
Assessment, even formative, yes, during the course, or summative at the end. But here, assessment, you are assessing their work and giving them later on feedback on how to improve their work, what are the weakness points, the strength points. So in that case, the learning process will be more engaging.
Okay, good. Thank you. So I think someone is saying that the link to the questions is not responding. After I say that question to Mr. Hisham, you can ask your questions if you have any question, or just post it in the chat. And I think, Mr. Hisham, you've seen the question I posted about how important it is to share the CFR levels with the students when using the tools that you've mentioned, because some teachers even don't use them, and some students get really confused about them. So what's the best way to share them with students?
I will tell you something, okay? The point that is something that's not that common, and I don't understand why. You find the students, they have their SAT books, okay, written on it, A1 and A2, B1, B2, and they don't understand the meaning of that. And this is like something that is now all over the world, even in let's say in European languages, not in English only, okay? In English and French and German, Spanish and whatever. So they need to know that, they need to know the meaning of Common European Framework of Reference, or CEFR. That is one thing, okay? So that when they come across when they see it in their books or wherever, they know that. This is one reason, okay? For the learners to say that, I usually say that to my learners who are usually adults. Okay, I tell them, okay, you need to search for more materials, or while surfing the net, you might find some materials. So you've got to know what level of materials are you using, okay? For example, my level is A1, for example, or A2. I wouldn't be reading something or listening to something that is B2, or I won't be able to to deal with. That is something, and this will help them to follow up their progress in the language. Okay, so they know about the material that they're using. They use some materials that is suitable for their level, their proficiency level. And when they search for something, they find something like that's suitable for them. And at the same time, they follow their progress. That's why and you see that this is the way in educational institutions. The School of Continuing Education, the SE, is one of them, of course. Okay, and most of them, I mean, the respectable institutions do the same thing, that your level is A1, A2, B1, B2, and even some like books and so on started to find something in between. Say, for example, it's like B1 minus, for example, or B1 plus, to make it more specific. The idea is really important. And this is
right. Yeah, if you would allow me just like to link it more to our theme, which is engaging learners online. So if we're giving online classes and if we're looking at how to engage learners, so I believe that we can use the CFR, especially the can-do statements. So share with the students what you can do at this level. So we're giving a course online now to A1 students. This is what you can do at this level, and this is what you're going to be achieving at the end of the level, so that they get really engaged and they know what to expect and what to work on during the course. So this is one thing to make the online course or the online classes practical and like engaging for students.
Thank you, Ayat. Well, I'll tell you something, okay? And now I've been given like 25 minutes, okay? But actually, I need to talk about the presentation like 1 hour and a half, maybe 2 hours.
I know. I'm really sorry about this. But
No.
I think that we will think about conducting workshops in the future, so that we can give the presenters and the participants as well the time and the opportunity to share and engage with the tools and explore them themselves.
Wallahi, I was planning to talk about the learning objectives of each, each and every level of A1.
Definitely,
Each
yes.
will be able to do 1, 2, 3. Thank you, Taman. You added that.
Right. Yeah. We're discussing this, and we'll try to introduce it very soon. Thank you so much.
Inshallah. It's my
So
pleasure.
any other questions, or would you like Walid to start the panel now?
Yes, sure. Thank you. Thank you to all, Hisham, Isra, and also Ayat, and all our amazing team, and of course our great participants. So let me share the last part. By the way, Hana Khamis is here.
Wow. Hello, our teacher, my teacher.
So, we have lots of experts in this session, by the way.
It's my pleasure to have my teacher.
So panel discussion is, yeah, it's great. So if you have any question, we are going to give you some time, but instead of using the chat box, you are going to use the link. I'm going to share it right away. I'm going to copy it. Okay, there is a link that shows on the screen on the top. So I'm going to share it in the chat box. So I want you, all the participants, if you have any question or comment, we already noted down some of those questions that you have been posting. By the way, right now I'm going to share it. Yes, here is the link. Just copy and paste it in any website. Okay, and write down your question. Okay. So we have Mr. Hisham, Ms. Isra, Ayat, and Wael, also Ghada. And all of us are, alhamdulillah, we are experts in using educational technology. There are people who have Google background, Microsoft background. And if you have any question, we are glad to answer your questions. Actually, I received a question. If Ayat, let me say that question. One of the participants was asking about using Google Meet, by the way. And using Google Meet is an alternative to Zoom. It's open, it's free,
Yes.
and if you'd like to use the premium account,
Can I answer? Yeah, can I answer this question, Mr. Walid?
using that was one of the questions, by the way, that we have
Yeah.
received, and I've read in the chat box, and I'm answering that question, by the way,
Yeah.
as as a Google trainer. So
Yeah.
all you need to do as an institution, I mean, if you work in a school or a college, university, you can apply to edu. I'm going to type it at the moment, edu.google.com. That is the educational website for Google. Your school or your university can simply go and apply to have the service uploaded to their domain. And that may take like 2 weeks. Well, about 2 weeks. And you can simply enjoy that. Alhamdulillah, we are using something related to us, by the way. The account that we are using for this specific event is something related to the LTSIG.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's totally free. Zoom is, you have to pay some money, by the way. Otherwise, you use it for 40 minutes and then you have to restart again. Well, maybe not all features will be available. Yeah. Okay, so if you have any question, please use, yes, I have, okay, so I have a question from Anonymous. How can we upload a video on Google Drive? Well, you open your Drive and then drag and drop. That's it. Deal with Google Drive as if that you are dealing with your desktop.
Okay, Walid, we have a
Okay.
question from, I think, Miss Amani would like to ask
Okay,
a question.
yes.
Something else? And,
Please, you can. Mhm.
Miss Amani, would you like to unmute your mic and ask the question, please?
Okay, thank you. First of all, I want to thank all of you for your great presentations. I really love them. But I want to ask Mr. Hisham about the levels A1, A2, B1, and B2. How can I get materials for that? For these levels, يعني I have no, يعني can I know the subjects from websites like Oxford or Cambridge and collect materials يعني depending on my own efforts, or there is specific materials can I download specifically that these websites can يعني do not let it for free.
I will tell you something. One of the best, or the website number one that would offer something like that is the British Council Learn English. So you just write British Council in the search. I can do that for you and share it here if you want. British Council Learn English, and write, for example, A2, for example. So you'll find that the website is providing you with materials, okay, that it would include listening, reading, writing, whatever, okay, with videos and everything related to A1 or A2 or B1 or B2 or whatever. Okay, I will share it in the, I will share in the link in a minute. British Council Learn English. And I mean in the chat.
I have already done so.
That's good.
Okay.
That's fine. That's fine.
I have already done so, but I could not download the audio files related to the box. So my questions here is: can I just note the topics and really and make the material depending on my offers, or there are things that
if you want ready-made materials, you'll find it there. The idea of downloading it from the website, I cannot talk about.
Yes, you're going to have this issue with almost all websites, many, because that's copyright issues. So
yeah,
that's it.
Not going to.
So you have to do that online.
Yeah. Another option, if you would like, is to have a model. So look at an audio recording online or one of the Learn English websites, and what's the topic, what's the level of language, and maybe create something similar. I mean, similar in terms of the topic or the ideas, and use your own to create an audio and record it yourself. with another teacher, or so it would be authentic, semi-authentic somehow, and you will have the right to download it or to share it with others.
The
Right?
point I would tell him, may I add something to that point? Okay, يعني, say for example that you would like, again, we need to relate. Okay, can you all hear me? Okay, we need to relate.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes, the CEFR. So let's say that this is like our benchmark, the CEFR. Okay, now we have, for example, the level which is A1, for example. So A1 has learning objectives, plus it has a certain vocabulary that we talked about in Oxford resources, for example. You got what I mean? Related to your curriculum, okay, you can have like a combination of all that, then use other tools, as Ayata just mentioned, to create grammar exercises. You'll find that to create grammar exercises, vocabulary, speaking, and so on, related to the same thing. When you just stick to the learning objectives of the CEFR A1, that's an example. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Walid, do you have any other questions, Walid?
Okay,
Or would
great.
you...
Okay. Yeah, we have an interesting question from Muhammad Alwa. Is differentiation of activities applicable online according to students' level?
That's a very, very
So who would like to answer that?
That's a good question.
interesting question. Yeah.
That's a big one. We have a big answer to it. Yes. Ms. Isra or Mr. Hisham, would you like to answer that question, please?
But I will tell you something, you know, the point is that you can, for example, you apply, let's say, an activity, or let's say a task that, like, for example, a job interview. Okay, so the level of vocabulary and the structure that is used in a job interview with learners of A1 would be different from that of B2, for example. Okay, it will be like very simple questions using very simple vocabulary for a job interview. Hello, what's your name? I am Hisham, and so on. But for a higher level, of course, the level of vocabulary used and the level of, structure used for B2 or C1, of course, it will be different. You can use a higher one.
Yes. Can I add a point here?
Please.
Yes. Can I add a point? Also, there are descriptors for each level. So, for example, in the SAFR A1, A2, you have a set of descriptors, and of course, they tell you which, what are the grammar rules that they can apply in this particular level, the level of vocab. So, in that case, you need to differentiate your activities according to the student's level, and it's not. It's not difficult to determine their level, by the way. And as I said, even at the beginning, with an icebreaker, you will be able to know whether they can, for example, use the present simple and other types of present tenses, or they can use the past tense or not. They can use more complicated narrative tenses or not. Through some activities and icebreakers from the beginning, you will know what level they are. And of course, the SAFR level that will be determined through the placement test, you are going to know at which level they are, and according to this, you are going to expect a certain level of vocab and grammar that can be used. Okay, so you can apply, you can use the same activity, but of course with different approach for each level. But you can even use the same activity.
Yeah. May I add something here? I'll go for, so Mr. Hisham talked about different levels and differentiating for different levels, and Mrs. Ra as well. I would go for a more challenging situation, which is when you have different student levels in the same class or within the same level. So, for example, one intermediate class, but very high intermediate students with very low intermediate students. And this happens especially in online classes these days. So this is a very challenging situation, but still differentiation is a key in these classes. So the same way you do it in face-to-face classes, you can do this in online classes as well. So the way the content might be the same, but the task you ask students can be different. So if you're asking one student to answer, for example, 6 sentences, you can make it 4 for another one, or you can just accept 4 for a different one. If you're asking one student to elaborate on the answer because you know that he's quite good, then for another one you can get you can find that like a couple of sentences are acceptable. So again, differentiation in online classes I think is even as important as face-to-face, and sometimes even more important, because we can have a mix of different levels in the same class.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, may I say something, please, if you don't mind?
Yes,
Yes,
please go.
sure, please.
Okay. Regarding differentiation, I think it's very well and very much applicable in online classes as well as face-to-face ones. We can apply something called the menu. In the menu, when you go into in any one of the restaurants, you might ask for the starter, the main course, and the dessert. And here I might apply this menu for assessment. And it would be very great because students will know that the starter, I'll have to choose one question from here and then another from the main course. And some questions might be obligatory and others might be selected according to the student's choice and something like that. This is one point. Another point, we might use the tic-tac-toe. And the tic-tac-toe or the think-tac-toe in differentiation would be very nice as well. Because we are just offering questions and students are to answer the questions according to their own choice and according to their own level. Breakout rooms might be very great for differentiation as well. And my final word about the previous question that was asked about the CFR, I'm just talking about as giving a hint for knowing the levels and something like that. For whoever is in need of knowing more about that, you might just have a look at Cambridge exams, starters, movers, flyers, CAT-PAT up till the IELTS, and accordingly, you might have just a glimpse about that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for all your
for the
and
interesting.
thank you, Mr. Mohammed, for the question. That was really interesting, and it opened the discussion for lots of nice ideas. Thank you.
Yeah, well, actually, I have a very common question, by the way, here, which is sharing the resources and also the recording of the current event. Tomorrow, inshallah, we're going to post the recording on YouTube and also on our Facebook page. And Mr. Hisham and Ms. Isra gladly will share the resources that they already provided during the sessions today. I mean, this evening, and we are going to email them to you and post them on Facebook, and they will be in the comment section on YouTube. So there are 3 different places. So you would never miss them. So don't worry. Okay, that is a question that has been asked by many, by the way. So anybody has other question, by the way, on our Facebook page, by the way? Do we have any question? Ghada and Wael?
Yes.
Ayat?
Yes, they are asking. Yes, they are asking the material used by Mr. Hisham. They want him to send it on the Word file or in a document.
Your voice is breaking. Ghada, would you write it in the chat? And I think, again, Mr. Basim has a question. Would you like to unmute your mic and say the question, Mr. Basim?
Hello?
Hello, yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you so much. I have a question for online learning. Which is better to use platforms? Is it better to use one platform or to use a variety of platforms on online teaching and learning?
Yeah.
Do you mean learning management systems?
Did you hear my question?
Like Moodle? Yes. Do you mean learning management systems like Moodle, Edmodo? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
I think
recently, can I explain my question?
Yes, please.
Recently, we heard about a variety of platforms: Zoom, Google Meet,
Yeah.
and Microsoft Teams. Of course, Edmodo, as we know, it's the official platforms for the Ministry of Education. I think is it better to use all these platforms or use one platform with our learners? Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Would any of our presenters like to say something about this? Or?
I will tell you something. Okay, honestly, okay, I have used different tools. Let's say, okay, I have used Moodle, BBB, Zoom, and Google Meet that we are using now. And actually, maybe this is the. I would like to thank Walid for sharing. For having the presentation on Google Meet. I find it's, in my opinion, it's very nice. It is one of the best Moodle, Google Meet, and I would recommend it for our friend to stick to only one tool that if you look at Google Meet here, you'll find that number one, it is free. You will not have to log out and then start a meeting once more, like what happens with Zoom if you don't have a free account. A paid account. The idea of the internet connection, speed, and so on, all this matters. So the least of them to use the internet would be the better to use, and sticking to only one will be better to make the learners familiar with it more, instead of just moving from one platform or one tool to another. This is what I think. And for me, honestly, I will think about, I've been using Zoom for a long time, but I can see now that Google Meet offers a better chance for a better online learn. Thank you.
But there is a question, Mr. Wadid, that I would like to ask about Google Meet.
Sure.
Does it have the same option of breakout rooms that we use in Zoom? Because this is something. Oh, yes.
Yeah, that is one of the things that we requested, by the way, to Google. They promised that by the end of this month, or let me say the following month, because June is almost over, they are bringing down lots of interesting features. Not only the breakout rooms, but also voice filtration, taking attendance, by the way, is also coming out. So we are going to have a really good platform for video conferencing, inshallah. So, it's a matter of time.
Yes.
But the most important thing that you have to test it, you have to make sure that everything is working before launching any feature. Yeah.
I may add something, Mr. Walid, that would please you very much.
Thank you. Yes, what is it?
It's when you use a variety of tools from Google, like using Google Hangout, Google Classroom, and Google Meet, you'll find each one of them is serving just one or some of the objectives of a teacher. For example, you can use Google Classroom for students sharing ideas and assignments, as well as using Meets for online classes, and using forms for their tests and quizzes and so on.
Exactly.
So you can create variety of them under one umbrella, which I see comprehensive, which is Google by itself. Thank you.
Exactly. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Yeah, and I would like to just add something, by the way, to the participant who was just asking about the variety of platforms. Actually, he mentioned Moodle and Google Meet. Actually, they are two different platforms. There is the LMS, the Learning Management System, that is it's the big classroom that has assignments, that has the materials and everything.
Exactly.
But something like what we are using right now, which is a video conferencing tool, it's a synchronous tool that we use. Teachers and students can simply go and meet, but you can't have a test, for example, there. It's only for video conferencing.
Yep.
So that is a different platform. So we have two here. So we have the LMS, like Moodle, Google Classroom, Edmodo.
Jupyter.
Yes, we have Schoology. We have a lot of Canvas.
Yes, Coursera, Classera.
Do we have to use one and that's it? No, actually, we have to use an LMS, Learning Management System, that is for synchronous activities, and also to hand out the materials to the students, receive their feedback, comments, and also do the classwork. And at the same time, we have to go on using the video conferencing tool. So if you like Google, you can use Google Classroom plus Google Meet. Yeah. If you like Microsoft, by the way, we have a Microsoft trainer we have here, Wael. So Wael, is he online?
Yeah, so yeah, some of our audience were asking about Microsoft Teams. So that's another tool that we might be using in the future. So as you mentioned, Walid, and I would go back to Mr. Basim. So the rule is one tool for asynchronous learning, which is the website materials, and one tool for the synchronous meetings. And if you would like to know more about this, you can watch the recording of our last event. We had a session on synchronous and asynchronous tools and what you can put in each one of them. So if you would like, you can revisit the video, watch the session, and you'll get lots of ideas.
It's on our YouTube channel, by the way.
Exactly, and you can find it on our Facebook page as well. I think Ms. Abir posted a question, Walid, in the Google link slides Q&A. Would you please?
Well, I didn't. Ms. Abir, we have lots of anonymous, by the way.
Ms. Abir, I think yeah, it was. I saw it.
Abir, let me show it here. Okay. Thank you for the inspiration and well-organized session. You know that the basic approach in teaching a language is communication. How far is your opinion, in your opinion, is the applicable with young learners in online sessions? In what sense?
Okay, that's interesting, and that takes us to young learners, which is so I can answer it. But if any of our if any of our presenters have some experience with young learners that they would like to share, you can go ahead. If not, I can take it.
I don't, but I would say just getting them familiar with the idea of now that those kids like spend most of their time online, like Facebooking or using their mobile more than we do, and just to get them familiar with the idea of how they, instead of having the teacher in front of them, I mean face to face, and now they have them and the teacher on the screen, just getting them familiar with that. And this depends on the skill of the teacher. Let's say if you are talking about two young learners, let's talk about the female teacher will have the ability just to attract them and motivate them to be engaged online. This is what I think. I mean, this is the rule for it. But once the question again, how far, in your opinion, is that applicable with young learners? Just get them engaged, engage them, motivate them, make them feel that this is the same session that they are having in class face to face, and it will work. Why not?
Yes,
exactly.
Yes, so, can I add a point here? There is also something that is really different from teaching adults. When you are teaching young learners, try to make most of the work in the session and use visual materials more. So it's more appealing to them using visual materials and engaging them more during the session itself, and make their work outside the session or at home less than adults. Adults, we ask them to work more outside their class. But as for children, you need to engage more during the session itself and use more visual materials.
Exactly. Thank you. There is one last question, by the way, from Safinaz, by the way, asking, what are the best websites for games online?
Yes, I think that Kahoot is one of the useful websites that can be used. Yes, you can just search for it. You can, of course, make like games forming questions, and they need to answer the question in a very limited period of time that you determine as a teacher. and it will be useful and fun and engaging, and you can make it related to the content that you are teaching them. So one of the websites is Kahoot.
Yeah, I would add to that point. Thank you, Isra. Of course, Kahoot is number one. I would add also Flippity that I talked about. And what is nice about is that you are going to customize the material that you have to your needs.
Yeah.
And as you see, but this will be great, wallahi. Yani, and they really enjoy it. They will really enjoy it.
Yeah, and also there are quizzes and Quizlets for gaming.
Sure.
Which are, for Kahoot, I like it because it is like practicing different intelligences, variable intelligences for the students when they are connecting colors with shapes with the right answers, which is highly beneficial for them and help them growing and broaden their intelligence.
Yes, in the materials, thank you so much, Ms. Rada. In the material, I share 2 links to 2 videos that will show you how you can use Flippity.
Thank you.
And customize the way you like. It's really amazing. Yes.
We appreciate it very much, Mr. Hisham.
Thank you, Rabbina Yakramik. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Hisham, Muhammad, and Ms. Isra Salmin for the great input, and thanks to all our attendants here. And inshallah, wait for the upcoming event, inshallah, on July 18th, inshallah. We are going to have part 2. Again, it will be on the same topic involving learners online, but we are going to provide some other ideas and some more strategies that we can apply online, and wish you the best. And thank you. Thanks again to our great LT6 team, Hayat, Ghada, Wael, and to everyone. And have a great night. Thank you to all.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Hisham. Thank you, Isra. Thank you, everyone.
My pleasure. Thank you.
See you later in coming events.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.